Hello everyone, this is Boricua Binks and welcome back to Let's Play Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations. In the last episode, we finally pointed the finger at who we think did this crime. We think it was none other than Prosecutor Godot. We even did a whole cool thing where we turned off the lights and we saw his eyes glowing, his little mask that he wears. But Maya is still being stubborn and she's defending him. She's trying to protect him. It's pretty interesting. So let's continue on because Maya, man, she's been through so much, but she's determined to protect the guy who saved her life.
Well then, Mr. Wright, let's hear your opinion. Why did the killer leave the message written in blood on the lantern?
I don't think they wanted to pin the crime on Maya because of everything that they went through to clean up and try to clear the evidence of the crime scene. But in this case, because it was red, the killer didn't notice it. We have evidence from before, too, for this.
Prosecutor Godot, earlier in this trial you gave me some good advice. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth.
How many times are you going to say that?
Maybe you're not as dumb as I thought. The real killer wanted to disguise the fact that a crime occurred there. If that's the case, they wouldn't have left the bloody writing on the stone lantern on purpose. Therefore, it must mean that they didn't notice it.
But that doesn't make any sense. The torches were all lit and everything. There's no way any normal person would miss something as glaring as that.
You're right. There is no way any normal person would.
What? What are you trying to say, Mr. Wright?
There's only one person involved in this incident who could have missed seeing the bloody writing altogether.
And who would that be?
Here we go again. How many times are we going to have to do this? Are we going to have to throw out Godot's name until it finally sticks, you know?
Who is the person that could have failed to notice the bloody writing?
The same person we just proved a few minutes ago.
Mr. Godot, this is what you said yesterday.
That his eyesight is pretty messed up. Even with the goggles, he still can't see everything.
You can't see everything. Is that correct, Mr. Godot?
This lantern was submitted as evidence today. I would like the court to think back to the moment it was first presented.
That everybody was freaking out about the blood.
And then Godot was like, what? No way! This lantern's as clean as a whistle.
Yeah, right. Dude, please.
Mr. Godot, just admit it. There are certain colors you can't see, correct? You can't see red on a white background, can you? That's right. You went through this once before, during the poisoning case at Tribulations.
Ah, that case, it was such a garbage case, but it did have a point to it with this whole thing. Somehow spelled coffee, but he didn't mention the blood. Why have you not explained the blood stain? He was so freaked out.
You could see the coffee on the white apron, but you couldn't see the ketchup because it was red. Ah! It's strange. In a black and white photo, those letters would have appeared black to me. I wonder, why am I the only one that can't see them?
So then, Mr. Godot, are you admitting it? Are you admitting that you couldn't see the red writing on the lantern?
He was so freaked out.
Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red writing on the lantern. He was so freaked out. Yes, I am admitting that I couldn't see the red w Hey, Gramps, didn't you know? That's the reason why I don't drink red tea.
Stupid. No, it's because you're a coffee addict. I wasn't sure about it until now, but I just can't believe it. Prosecutor Godot is a murderer. But there's no going back now. I finally figured out the truth. Mr. Godot, the defense at this time formally accuses you. You are the murderer of Miss Elise Donham, also known as Miss Misty Fey.
It's hard to believe this may be true, however, once again Mr. Wright has brought up a disquieting fact about you.
Ah,
He's so calm still.
just make sure you don't fill out the indictment in red ink, Gramps. Come on, how does a little graffiti make me into the killer? Besides, it's not like it's my name that's written there.
I'm certain that the killer wasn't able to see the color red.
This is rich. Do go on, Trite.
The answer is right there at the crime scene. In the snow.
The snow? How so?
Well, for example, why did the killer move all that snow? Your Honor, you said it yourself. If they wanted to hide the bloody snow, why not take out just that area?
Yes, why didn't they take just that area? Ah, could it be?
Yes, the killer couldn't see the red blood that had seeped into the snow. And so he had to remove all of the snow. He couldn't be sure of where the blood had landed, so he removed the whole area.
Isn't it more likely that the killer couldn't see the blood because it was dark?
Not a chance. The torches were all lit. They would have been able to see fine.
It seems that once again this trial has taken an unexpected turn, to say the least. Can you explain this, Mr. Godot?
Hold it. Uh-oh. No, Maya.
Wait! Just wait a minute.
Maya.
What is it, witness?
Mr. Godot isn't the killer. After all, he didn't even come to the inner temple until 2 days after the murder took place. He didn't show up until after that old bridge got fixed up.
Puffy face.
Objection!
Maya. You can't testify to something like that.
Why? What do you mean? I may not look it, but I'm... Eesh!
After the murder happened, you didn't even exist.
She didn't. I'm afraid I don't follow.
Are you senile, old man? We established this just a little while ago. After the murder, this witness was unconscious for a long time. Because she was channeling Dahlia Hawthorne.
Oh, that's right.
Please, Your Honor, let me add to my testimony. Nick, please, listen to me.
Maya. Do you plan to cover for Godot no matter what the cost? If that's the case, then I've got no choice. Your Honor, let's hear her testimony. If it means we're going to hear the whole truth, I say we should not silence her.
Ah! Nicely done, Trite.
Very well, let's hear the witness's testimony. Please tell us what happened at the inner temple after the murder, and keep dragging on this darn case.
Yes, sir. After I woke up, I began channeling, and my spirit left me, as it were. But that little girl was there at the inner temple, too.
Ah. After the incident.
Pearlie was also stuck on the inner temple side that night. The next morning, she looked around but couldn't find anyone. The next day, when the bridge was finally fixed, she was in the spare prep room. That's when Mr. Godot arrived at the inner temple for the first time. He found Pearlie first and cheered her right up.
Oh, he did.
Who is this Pearlie?
That's my little cousin, Pearl Fay.
So when did you hear about this?
Oh, just a while ago, when I was in the medical office.
I'm terribly sorry, but what you heard from someone else is simply not admissible as testimony.
What? Come on.
Yep, it's hearsay.
Pearlie would never tell a lie. She's a way more honest person than I'll ever be.
Real smart, Maya. You always know the best things to say when you're under oath.
Ah! The prosecution has no objection. We believe the witness.
Mr. Godot!
Let's just move on to the cross-examination, if the defense has no objections.
This is highly unusual, but, well, Mr. Wright.
Let's get this cross-examination started. Phoenix is like, he's like, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm sorry, Maya. Okay. So stuck. Around. Just fixed. Mr. Godot arrived. We found Pearlie. This one. Okay, let's press. So it was your first time on the inner temple side, Mr. Godot.
That's funny. Am I imagining things, or did the defense ask me a question?
Mr. Wright, please save your questions for the witness.
What you heard from someone else is simply not admissible as testimony. Those are your words, Your Honor.
Touché, Mr. Wright. Oh well. What do you have to say, Mr. Godot?
Hot nights and even hotter coffee. That's what I always say. If it hadn't been for this case, I never would have visited there. A freezing cold temple in the mountains. I think I'll pass.
So he had never visited Hazakura Temple or the Inner Temple, huh?
Ah! You want to say something trite?
In any case, I have to find a crack in Godot's armor. Well, I cross-examine Maya, that is.
Very well, please go on with your testimony. After fixing the bridge, the policeman came over to the inner temple side, right?
Yes, then Mr. Godot.
He found Pearl first? I didn't know that part, so, He cheered her up.
That's what Pearlie said. She said he was a very nice older gentleman. Thank you for looking after my cousin, Mr. Godot.
And here I was thinking you were nothing more than a coffee addict.
That's who he is deep down, just a coffee addict.
Ah! Cut it out. You're making me blush.
This guy is really beginning to get on my nerves, in more ways than one.
The truth is, there aren't that many places to look on the inner temple side. The policemen were all busy going over the garden with fine-toothed combs. So I decided to carry out an investigation in my own way. Godot style.
Okay.
I'm the same way. I like to hand down verdicts in my own way. Judge style.
What is this? Oppa Gundam style? What? Maybe I should ask some questions. Phoenix style. Starts dancing. The cheering Pearls up part is interesting, but let's hear about his investigation. You said that you conducted an investigation of your own. Did you find anything?
It looks like my investigation went about as well as yours, Trite. After all, I did miss the bloody writing on the lantern.
Well, I didn't miss it, so speak for yourself, Goggles.
The only odd thing I discovered was the beauty in the training hall.
Beauty?
Misty Fey, naturally, clad in her stunning Japanese garb surrounded by the hue and aroma of Western tastes.
Wait, what? Western tastes? Could he find a stranger way to describe gravy?
So from there you headed for the prep room.
Wait a sec. What did Godot say just now? Oh, I see. You slipped up, Godot. Slip of the tongue. That's what gets people all the time on this game. I think I just found his proverbial weak spot. There's only one thing of any importance here. Where was Godot when the murder was taking place? He must have already been at the inner temple when it happened. Otherwise, he couldn't have killed Elise Stoneham. Okay, where do I present this? This one or... Actually, I think this is another one of those cases you don't present it on the one that it was connected to when they found out the additional information, because she doesn't have another sentence here. So I think it's this one. That he did not arrive there at the first time, because how could he know that this was Misty Fey's image?
Mr. Godot, the first time you crossed Dusky Bridge and went into the inner temple was long before the murder took place.
What? Why do you say that?
Because he just made one fatal slip-up. The hanging scroll in the training hall.
Hanging scroll?
But Mr. Godot is right. That scroll shows a picture of my mother.
Maya, I know you know who it is, but here's something you didn't know. By the time the bridge had been repaired 2 days after the murder, the hanging scroll in the training hall looked like this.
What's that wonderfully delicious smell?
What the? Is he actually carrying it with him? I thought it was just like pictures of the evidence.
The morning after the crime, someone covered it with gravy.
Gravy? But why gravy, Nick?
Because gravy was much more than a condiment to the culprit. Well, Mr. Godot, if you really hadn't seen the hanging scroll until after the murder, you wouldn't have had any way of knowing that it was Misty Fey.
Oh, wait a minute, Nick.
Yes?
Take another look at the hanging scroll. Look, at the top. There's a crest there.
Ah, that. It's the mark of the master, correct?
Exactly. So if you know the meaning of the mark...
Then you could guess that it was a picture of Misty Fey on there.
True, but Mr. Godot described what was underneath like this. Clad in her stunning Japanese garb, surrounded by the hue and aroma of Western tastes.
Oh,
Yes, it's possible that he knew what the crest meant. However, he couldn't have known that she was wearing Japanese clothing. Mr. Godot, on the day of the murder, you were hiding at the inner temple long before the crime took place.
There we go. Nice try, Maya.
Can I ask you just one little thing, Trite?
What is it?
This whole theory of yours, it all rests on a certain assumption. That I knew beforehand that a crime was going to be committed.
that's right. Otherwise, there's no reason for him to sneak onto the crime scene.
Of course, Mr. Godot knew about the plan.
Huh?
What did you say? Is it really possible that another person knew of that plan?
Yes. Because of where is it? Of how it was delivered.
This crime was actually planned over a year ago.
Morgan Fay authored the plan for her daughter's future, and these instructions were hidden somewhere in Fay Manor for a year. However, by the time Little Pearls found these instructions, they had already been unsealed. Ah, that's right. Was it her who told us that? I think so.
Unsealed?
Yes, the killer had read these instructions long before Pearls ever found them. That's how he knew the crime was to take place at the Inner Temple.
And you're saying this crafty killer is me.
You bet I am.
But you just said that the instructions were hidden.
That's right! Mr. Godot couldn't have known where the instructions were hidden.
If he really wanted to know, he had one great chance to find out.
Yes, and when was that?
During a visit,
A visit?
Morgan Fay told her daughter, Pearl, about where the instructions were hidden. During one of her visits to the detention center. That would be the only time for someone to have learned where they were hidden.
Eavesdropping on a visit at the detention center?
Yes, it could be arranged if you were someone with easy access in and out of there. Like, for example, a prosecutor such as Mr. Godot. Interesting. Abusing your power like that, huh?
Order, order, order! Mr. Godot, you're under fire again! Take cover!
This murder could not have been carried out without prior knowledge. And you were the only one that could have acquired this information before the murder. Which pisses me off because that means you could have prevented all of this from happening if you had just gotten the police or someone involved. If you had just frickin' walked right up and told Phoenix and Maya, hey, Morgan Fay is trying to kill her. Oh, God, it pisses me off.
Humans are afraid of the dark, and yet, at the same time, we're fascinated and bewitched by it. Maybe that's why humans drink the darkness that is coffee.
Enough with your stupid coffee soliloquies. Come on, man. We're accusing you of murder. Sorry for always asking, but what does that mean?
It means there's a reason for everything. According to your theory, the killer in this case eavesdropped on a conversation during a jail visit where he learned of a hidden plan for a crime. After discovering the plans, he hid in the inner temple and waited for the crime to occur. Then he ultimately took a person's life. And he did all of that just to protect this witness.
That's right.
If you're accusing me of this crime, I have to ask you, why would I do this?
Here we go. Big question. Motive.
This girl is nothing but a stranger to me. I've got no reason to go through that kind of trouble to protect her. I am what you see. I'm certainly not the type to rescue the damsel in distress.
He's so sexy and so... Something about him, even though he pisses me off, he's freaking hot. He's hotter than his coffee. Okay, calm down, Binks. No more thirst. Drink some coffee.
The killer's behavior is certainly extreme, for lack of a better word. Even considering that the killer wanted to protect this witness's life. His behavior is still a little too unnatural.
However, you had a good reason, didn't you, Mr. Godot? An unshakable reason that forced you to protect this witness at all costs.
I knew knew it. You figured it out, haven't you, Nick?
I'm sorry, Maya. Maya, I guess you were doing your best to cover for Godot. For the same reason, huh?
Aw, this is so sad. Poor Maya.
Okay, Trite. I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
It's very simple. Maya Fey is a lot more than just a stranger to you.
What's this?
There's one person who lies at the very center of this whole story, which is fascinating. I always felt like the whole trilogy, even though it's about Phoenix Wright and it follows him, there's another character who I feel is more at the center, who is actually truly the star of this trilogy. And then the games after this, it's not about that person anymore, unfortunately. One person that ties you and Maya Fey together inextricably. None other than our darling Mia Fey. There's a very good reason why Maya Fey's life is so precious to you. After all, she is Mia Fey's only sister.
Mia Fey.
You once worked alongside her. That was when you were a defense attorney. No way! It can't be! I think it's pretty obvious by this point.
Wait a second here. Mr. Godot is a defense attorney.
With your honor's piercing intellect, you must have figured it out by now. That's kind of rude, Phoenix. He's being so sarcastic. The real name of this man who calls himself Godot. His real name is Diego Armando. Isn't that right?
The last time someone called me by that name was over 6 years ago.
Here we go. Sad music.
Diego Armando. That name rings a bell.
It should, Your Honor. All of this is related to a single case. A case in which a convict named Terry Falls killed himself. Mia Fey's first time in court, the tragic outcome left a deep wound in her heart. She knew that behind it all was a heartless, scheming demoness in disguise. But in the end, Mia couldn't tear off that disguise. However, there was one man who reached out to help her. Diego Armando, a senior defense lawyer at the office where Mia worked.
It's my fault! It's all my fault that Mr. Falls killed himself!
Mia, you can't cry yet.
Such a badass moment.
The only time a lawyer can cry is when it's all over. I was moved by her. The way she put all her faith in her clients. That pure, sweet heart of hers. That's why I could never forgive Dahlia Hawthorne. Mia and I thoroughly investigated that fake kidnapping incident. Then, one fateful day, Dahlia wanted to meet with me. It had been 6 months since the trial. We met in the courthouse cafeteria.
I just remembered. 6 years ago, right here in this courthouse, you were poisoned.
Even I didn't see it coming.
Damn.
Dahlia Hawthorne slipped some poison into my coffee.
Some newspapers at the time called it a murder, but very little information about the case was released to the press.
But you weren't dead at all.
No official reports ever actually called it a murder. I was just in a deep, deep coma.
I see.
My body shut down, and my life became nothing but a long, deep sleep. That woman's poison did a real number on my central nervous system. I lost my sight, and all of my hair turned white due to the damage it caused.
Jeez. Well, the hair on top of your head, but not the hair on your face, apparently, because it's still black. You poor thing. It's a miracle he survived.
That's terrible.
Apparently, it was a miracle that I ever regained consciousness. 5 years had passed since I drank that poison brew. Then one morning, my eyes flew open from the smell of a doctor's cup of coffee.
Of course.
5 years? You were asleep for 5 years.
And the worst possible news was waiting for me. Mia Fey was dead. From the very moment I opened my eyes, I had already lost everything I thought I had. The woman I loved had been murdered,
So sad.
and the woman I loathed had been sentenced to death.
The woman you loathed.
The woman who had spiked my scalding hot coffee, Dahlia Hawthorne. Ha! Good old Mia. She didn't let me down. She got her revenge before she checked out. In the end, there wasn't anyone waiting for me when I woke up.
That's so sad. That's so sad. Oh, Maya agrees with me.
For someone like me, for someone who had slept away their best days, there were only 2 reasons left to live. And it was for those 2 reasons that I decided to become a prosecutor.
If I may ask, what were your 2 reasons to live?
The first was you, trite.
Huh? Me?
If I hadn't drank that stupid poison, Mia Fey never would have died, much less the way she did.
There's that sad song.
You were the only one who was there to protect her, but you let her die. It was all your fault.
It wasn't like that.
I wanted to see for myself what kind of man you really were.
So that's why you became a prosecutor.
My other reason for living, she goes by the name of Maya Fey.
Huh? You mean me?
You were the only way I could make up for the sin of not saving Mia. 1 year ago, when the Karain village incident was resolved, it was obvious that Morgan Fey was planning something. Whatever her evil plan was, I was determined to stop it. My role as a prosecutor put me in the perfect position to do something about her.
That's how you overheard Pearl's visit with Morgan at the detention center.
I knew that the time was drawing near. Since I knew the plan, I thought I could foil it. My goal was to outwit the plan. I thought if I could do that, I could keep that girl from being caught up in it.
That makes sense. If Pearls had known that the actual purpose of the plan was to kill Maya, she never would have helped out.
Finally, the day of the plan was drawing near. I contacted both of my accomplices.
Accomplices?
Iris of Hazakura Temple and Misty Fey. I especially needed the help of Iris. She was to take the fall in my backup plan in case we couldn't control Pearl Fey.
But That's so fricked up. It's so stupid. Why were you willing to ruin Iris and Misty's lives like that too? Ugh. How did you contact my mother? She had been missing for almost 20 years.
Officially, yes.
What? What do you mean, officially?
You've heard about it, haven't you? About the strong ties between the main family and the government.
Now that you mention it, Bikini did say something to that effect. She said that the Master of Karain had great authority.
Even without her official position, Misty Faye still wielded great influence. The police have been keeping an eye on her movements all this time. That's how I was able to contact her. Again, because of my position as a prosecutor.
So my mother was cooperating with you?
Don't ever forget, no matter how far away from you she was, she never stopped thinking about you.
She was always...
That's why I knew she would do anything to protect you. If you want to know how strong her resolve to protect you was, look at her staff.
Her staff, the one with the sword in it.
The day the plan was to be carried out arrived soon enough. We met for the first time at Hazakura Temple. That's when your mother showed me her special staff. I realized it then, just how far she was willing to go. She was ready to use that sword to protect you from Morgan Fay if necessary. Yes, even if it meant paying the ultimate price.
That's so sad.
Mother!
Okay, guys, I actually have to end the episode right here. I was considering making it one very long episode of this ending, but unfortunately I have to go. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this, and in the next episode we will finish this game. There's still a lot more to talk about and to reveal with Godot. So thank you guys, and until next time, have a nice day.
Bye!